Video games have been around for longer than I've been alive. I'm not an old fogey, not yet at least, but I was raised somewhere between the third and fourth console generations. It seemed like as the years passed on for video games, particularly on console, was always on its way up 8-bit to 16-bit, 32 bits on a CD, and so on. It was always on the steady incline to becoming like the PC master race in most respects. I can already imagine the PC master race saying, but my mouse and keyboard and my 120 frames per second. Look, dweeb, I'm just trying to enjoy a game and experience everything the developer intended for me to see. Besides, the Xbox Series X and the PS5 Pro is now doing 120 frames and is nearing PC status, but I digress. I feel like the 6th and 7th generation of consoles was the pinnacle of gaming. Not just for the players, but for the developers too. The indie dev scene allowed people to create their masterpiece for free. Selling it was a completely different matter, but the point remains that people were allowed the opportunity to see if they could create their vision because, let me tell you, programming isn't easy. Almost failed Visual Basic class because I kept programming infinite loops with mindless ease. Programming with Unity, Python, or Unreal Engine might not be as daunting, but creating your world and hoping everything works as you envision isn't as simple of a task as you might think. It's why I find myself to be much more understanding than the average gamer who thinks a game could get popped out like it was nothing. ET for the Atari was coded in 5 weeks, and look what happened. Talk about disastrous. Despite games nowadays showcasing unappealing characters, have worlds that are as lifeless as they are vast, and tell stories that are so bland and formulaic that all you can do is roll your eyes, the game industry isn't dying like people think it is. Only the big studios that are spending millions are going the way of the dinosaur. Bigger isn't always better, and too much is often overwhelming. You only need to look at games like Balatro, Unpacking, Donut County, and other smaller, more enjoyable games to see what I'm talking about. Most of these games don't even bother with cutting edge graphics. They've reverted back to the pixelated form, and I'm convinced that's not such a bad. Meanwhile, modern gaming's digital download landscape is a double edged sword. It has made games significantly more accessible to buyers, but there's a catch. Instead of owning a game, you're instead paying for a permanent lease which can expire at the company's discretion. Just look at the debacle for The Crew. Ubisoft forcefully removed the game from the accounts of everyone who ever purchased the game and gave a big FU in response by pointing to their incomprehensible and overbloated TOS. Things like this is why people wish harm upon lawyers and businessmen. Just look at the Disney Plus wrongful death loophole. What scummy logic. And they thought they could get away with it too because some parasite in a suit made the argument. Gets my blood boiling thinking about it every time. I keep digressing and I apologize. My thoughts jumble around as I try to keep on topic. There's so much that's wrong in the industry, but there's so much right that, all in all, it's going to be okay in the long run. There are some things I'd like to see make a comeback, though. Physical copies so you can own what you pay for, and those amazing midnight launch releases where you can go meet fellow gamers in your town who share similar gaming interests, and maybe make a new friend along the way. Wouldn't that be nice?